So I want to talk about fishermen. Fishermen. Um, but before I get into that, I wanted to lay a foundation from a holy book, the Bible, one of the holy books, speaking on fishermen. Now, the fishermen in the Bible, in the New Testament, the phrase fisherman comes from Jesus, called to Simon Peter and Andrew, who were fishermen by trade. While walking by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus saw them casting nets and said, "Follow me. I will make you fishermen." And that's a quote from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And I'm just reading this just because people might not even know this exists. So I'm laying the foundation for the scope of my demonstration so y'all can have some reference point. Let's go into the meaning of fishermen from a metaphorical perspective. The metaphor of fishing illustrates the Christian mission to gather people into God's kingdom. And this is Wikipedia, but it's a good foundation. Patience and persistence. Now we're talking about the meaning of fishermen. So we're taking the Bible and getting more in depth about the one-liners or the two-liners or the passages, right? Because it's symbolic. Patience and persistence. Just as fishermen wait for the right moment to cast nets, believers must be patient in sharing the gospel. We know it's deeper than this, but you see where they're going with this. Even on this level, you can see that it's metaphorical, it's anthropomorphic, it's symbolic. And this is like a micro aspect when we're talking about the missionary work. And this is part of it is people that's part of the organization as an ambassador. You have a lot of information so you can use multiple approaches when you're interacting with the people. If you know most of our people are Christian and understand the Bible, or they claim to be heavy in the Bible, what they say, meet them where they at. Open the Bible up. This is in it. This is what we're talking about. Um, all right, so now I just want to let a foundation. So let me go to the metaphysical Bible dictionary. I'm gonna start with reading the definition of fish and then transition to the definition of fisherman. What I'm reading from, once again, is the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore. So we still in the Bible, but we looking at it from the lens of metaphysically, which breaks down the parables more in depth. All right, so let's start out with fish. Is an expression metaphysically of multiplication, manifestation, abundancy, fecundity. The reason why Jesus so often used fish to illustrate his teaching was that he was a living demonstration of ideas. So so fish metaphysically is multiplication, multiplying. It's symbolic for that, right? So your thoughts is the beginning of that because you have a thought, then you act on it and make it happen. Now it manifests to something you can see. You start a business, you're gonna see the multiplication. You're gonna see, but it all starts from the thought, right? So he was a living demonstration of ideas, and all that he did was in the realm of ideas rather than the realm of effects. Fish represent ideas in which there is a great possibility to increase. Jesus used these ideas to represent the inexhaustible, everywhere present abundance. So we're talking about abundance. Everybody can have abundance or accumulate or manifest. It's just how you calibrate it or what polarity is it light or dark. Because you're going to manifest regardless. It's just How are you calibrated? Is it positive manifestation or are you manifesting uh, a destructive path for yourself? But everybody has a choice. So we still talking about fish. We're talking about fishermen and men, but I just wanted to lay the foundation with fish first. Like all scripture, the passage that tells of Jesus eating fish should be read in the spirit and not in the letter. Jesus came to establish the reign of righteousness and to bring about the time when they shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. Therefore, we must look back at the mere letter and find the spiritual significance of every act of his. So once again, they're telling you it's not literal. The spiritual significance. There is evidence that the account in which Jesus figures as a party to fish eating are symbolical of the mental side of eating. So how do you feed your mental? How do you feed your mental? You take in information, a lot of it, different types. You take in information for the purpose of applying it so you can benefit from it in your life. Comprehension of it. Now you know about different herbs. You know when to plant. You know you eat from the roots in the cold time, right? Eat from the leaf in the spring. There's certain things you just, if you didn't know that, you're just not aware of it. So our job is to take in the information and multiply. Take that information for the purpose of expansion, of understanding. That's how you got the medical field, right? Somebody had to have the understanding about how to use the herbs and how to perform surgery and how to do blood transfusions. There's a point nobody knew how to do it, right? But look what happened based on people being enlightened. Technology gets furthered. Still talking about fish. So let's go to fishermen, fishers of men. So that's what I started the demonstration with, right? So we're going a little more in depth in that Google bullet point that I read about fishermen and men. So fishers of men, spiritually quickened men who were strongly fortified in truth and able to help others to find the light. So fishermen, you get the light, you get the information. That's why Noble Joe Ali says, if we don't do nothing else, just declare your nationality. That's the light. We got the light. That's divine. We didn't have to get the light. If you was born and raised in North America, you're not international, this information is pretty much buried unless somebody with the light presents it to you. Um, so that's what makes it divine. But the second step is what? Being active, organizing the people, industrious, constantly thinking on how to expand and get the empire back rolling. Even no matter how slow or fast, that's where it's at. That's where your mind is at. You got conviction. You linking up with other people that got the same fire and conviction as you, so we can manifest and be fishermen like Jesus. See this ambassador work? This you talk to somebody in this space, they gonna be like, okay, yeah, you're talking to the wise man, you're talking to the noble in real time, because it's not any other way to look at it. This is truth. You can cross-reference multiple books. In the old world, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, it's all the same message. Enlightenment, the light, how to get to it, master the flesh. Kingdom of heaven is within. Right? We got all these empires, we got all these great people, these sultans. If it was a sultan, it was an empire. If it was an empire, organization. If it was organization, that means the people on the same page, willing to submit to the program for the benefit of the people. And in that in itself is trust law. When you got trust law, now you can set up these dynasties and pass them down. That's what it was about. All our people's dynasties on record today. Um, you can see the names, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, right? This dynasty. I mean, that's inheritance. So things got passed down, and the culture kept getting spreaded, and people were holding it down and taking pride in the culture and being active with it. All right, so fishermen. We still talking about fishermen. So let's continue with fishermen. Five represents the sum of two and three, is the working of wisdom and understanding. Wisdom is the awareness of the presence of power of God within you, and understanding is the application of the God power in your everyday affairs. Five is also symbol of imagination, disciplined imagination, disciplined imagination. Whatever you imagine and feel to be true will come to pass. To the ancient seers, sight was based just on the two external eyes, not. So to the ancient seers, sight was not based on the two external eyes, but upon the body as being full of eyes. So your whole body was a receptor. Your whole body was a sensory mechanism where everything is full of eyes, right? Everything can see. Touch was an extension of sight. By feeling with your eyes closed, you could see and know an object or thing. Smelling with eyes closed but also create sight or a picture, right? So that's an example. You close your eyes, but you smell something, pretty much visualizing what you're smelling. You're drawing quick conclusions on them. Oh, that's fertilizer, or that's some lasagna, or that's some lentil soup, or that's some right. So it's more to just the cardinal experience. We're in our grossest state, so we can see each other. Also, tasting and hearing brings the sight of understanding. These five doors to understanding and sight were drawn in hieroglyphics as an embrace. So, oh no, I gotta keep reading this. For the five senses or five points of sight, we have the fellowship with God, who is our environment, and one another. So when you in tune with yourself, you in tune with the environment. But it's also an environment that's outside of your physical shell around you. So that's how you know how to plant. That's how plants give you oxygen. You give the plants carbon dioxide. You know when to plant. You know what to eat. All that's being in tune with nature, and that's your senses. And most of the time, see, we live in a city life in the matrix around all the cement but once you start getting around nature more often, your body adapt and you become more heightened. Your antennas, the way it's just a different experience. You're not the frequencies is different. That's the bottom line, I guess. The frequency is different from being in the matrix and not. You being around nature or not. It's it's abnormal not to be. All right. So so the five. This was symbolized by the hand or five fingers of the pentata, the five-pointed star for the 5 points of fellowship with God. The five elements are the spirit of God mingled with earth, wind, fire, and air. So we're talking about we gotta marinate on this. Let's talk about the 5 points anciently, even though all roads lead back to the 5 points of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But we're talking about 5 points from a different hermetic principle perspective within. Now we're talking about and element too, right? Because you got the earth, wind, fire, air aspect of it. But when you're talking about your senses, you're coming from a point of there's five of them. When you start talking about, you know, the seventh scent or the sixth scent, now you're talking about an octave. After you master the first five, since your basic five, now you in tune to a higher octave. But those are the essential 5 points because if one of those points are off, your equilibrium is off. Your taste, your smell, right? All these things are connected. Of course, you can see, but that's the carnal experience. But we have antennas. So I guess that's a better way to express it. All right, so we've been talking about fishermen from a very in-depth perspective. We took a couple lines of the Bible talking about Jesus fishing, and we blew it up a little bit. All right. Hold on, let me read this. I gotta read this. So the spirit of God dwelling in a temple, which is our flesh, made up of a spiritual body, fire, spirit, an emotional body, feelings or wind, a mental body, thoughts, intellect or air, and physical body, representing the earth, the flesh, the earth, the carnal. These are the four cornerstones of the earth or body of which God pours itself into, and they all become one, and the pentaphysical of worship, interaction, being, and finally unity. All right, see the unity part? Unity. So you got unity within yourself by self mastery or understanding yourself. And now you linking up with other people that are on that same frequency, but they're trying to master themselves. And then y'all have these think tanks, right? Y'all got the same cultural nationality, understanding on life. One mind. No matter how big it gets, it's one mind. So now that's unity. We're discussing being a fisherman in the sense of being what's up here? Strongly fortified in truth. So you know what's going on earth. You know all the truth. The ologies, the why it's the matrix, the false information, the other side of the spectrum, how things went down in history and law. You know a lot. All right. So you're strongly fortified in truth. All right. That's why you're the light, because we're in the darkness. So the light is very apparent in these days because it's a bunch of darkness around. Right. But the light, nonetheless, from the perspective of somebody in the dark, they're gonna get starstruck or dreamy eyed. If we coming from a sincere perspective at that too, it's like that's what we want to be. We the nobles, we the magi. But I'm letting you know when you talking to our people about these fish and Jesus, and of course we're talking about Pisces too. A lot of different layers in here, but in this particular vein, when you're discussing these fishermen with our Christian brothers and sisters, it's the type of Bible study that we want to come from to give them an old time religion perspective on what they're reading because they're already motivated behind the book. They already motivated. They stand by it. Let them know you stand by it too. Let them know you pro Yahshua too. Let them know that, you know. And then take them out somewhere to eat or something. Or offer to do their line or something. Pull up and see if they need some groceries or something. Like just on another day, right? So it's like we want to just give them that demonstration of like, look, man, you're my brother. I just want to let you know where it's at. Let's try to do some great work while we're in the flesh. Like they gotta respect it. I mean, you can't force them, but of course, leave a good taste in people's mouth about the more that they run across. From my perspective, different ideas. It could, you know, by any means necessary, right? Um, all right, so that's the fisherman. So now let's go to unity in a more carnal political sense. Now that we talked about the unity within, um, and once you get that fire and that torch, how we become fishermen and men, we essentially become our brother's keeper. And We want others to find the light, right? That's what the fishermen of men. Not only are we fortified, but we want others to find the light too. So we're gonna give them some breadcrumbs so they ain't got to do as much studying as we did, but we're gonna let them know where it's at. Let's go to the Black's Law Dictionary. Unity. Let's talk about unity from a different perspective. So now we speaking unity. It's the same principle, but look how the unity translates to political. I don't know what's going on. Something happening with my computer right now. Here we go. All right, so unity and the law of the states. Remember them dynasties I was talking about? This is how this translates in law. You get the probate court out your situation. And the law of the states, what is unity? Cause and effect. So unity. In the law of the states, the peculiar characteristic of an estate held several in joint tendency and which is fourfold: unity of interest, unity of title, unity of time, and unity of possession. In other words, joint tenants have one and the same interest, occurring by one and the same conveyance, commencing at one and the same time, and held by one and the same undivided possession. So we're talking about title, right? We're talking about estate. Now we're talking about land. Now we're talking about inheritance. That people with the light that came together with other people with the light and organized it and structured it as a trust. You created a vehicle that has international law ramifications. You opened up the state law. You opened up trust law. You opened up international law. Just by knowing yourself, linking up with other people that know that self, and y'all taking an active, organized approach about how y'all, basically deal with each other. Now you have unity of title. You get some land, put it in trust under the organization. There you have it. Unity of title. Even your personal family and your personal affairs. It should be structured family trust because it's all about the dynasty passing it, but still unity. It just micro macro. You got unity within your family. One child, right? Mother, daughter, son. I mean, mother, husband, man, woman, child. Basically, what I'm getting at. Grantor, trustee, beneficiaries. So if it's not under unity, it's under war. So the minority is under war to the state. So these parallels I feel is important to understand because a lot of our people come across this information and want to get straight to you know, I know the law, that's what I got coming. We got treaties. I shouldn't be having to do what they say because I'm indigenous to the land. And it's a little more. And that's the wisdom because when you first come across the information, you do be gung ho like that. When you first start hearing Taj and the Seer and all these people, you be fired up. Like, what? Like they doing this? All these people agents around here. All these people is agents. They against us. Which but it's just marinating in the paradigm and knowing what it's about, getting some work done. You still study. That's important because you just want to be a polished ambassador. Know what you're talking about. They're talking to somebody that's representing the nation. It's like anybody else. Um, any thoughts? Anybody got any thoughts on this space? Are we fishermen in the chat? We got some fishermen in the chat.
Yo, when you were saying enough, does anybody else have something to say? Sorry, I wanted to. All right, cool. When you were saying number five, that made me think about the fifth house, which is creativity. You know what I mean? And everything starts from within, which is, we create images from within, and being fishers of men, you're we as more than multiplying a better thought from within, to change your outer. So if you change the inner to more and black, you would be, from what's within. You know what I mean? So you create who you are from within and express it out. So you were saying number five and all the principles of angel nature, that creates peace. And that goes back to the fifth house of creation. You know what I mean? So all those I Teflon Master, Islamism creates peace. You know what I mean? So I was just thinking about creation the entire time. You know what I mean? And thinking about the elements and what they create. I mean, saying that maybe so. Just create a new mind. That's what I took from you.
Wow. So, yeah, that five. That's what stood out to me when I first ran through this is those five principles or the 5 points and the internal workings aspect of it. Uh, Fisher,
Islam.
Islam, Bernard Watson Bay.
Uh, there's a concept in quantum physics called the observer effect. And it basically says how whatever you are vibrating at, meaning whatever you observe as reality, is going to become the reality. So that's, I feel, is part of the unity within, right? Because we're always mindful of what we're attracting towards us, what we're collapsing into reality. Well, that's a part of it, that unity within. Like, do you have all of the components within inside of you to bring forth this certain reality that is based in that unity? I yield.
Wow, I like that. The unity within, and then it promotes unity on the outside because you're going to attract that same frequency. It's deep. It's simple, but it's deep. Because a lot of people, and it's easier said than done too. You know what I mean. Like that's the whole point of life, as you see in like back to all these ancient holy books. You see like the purpose of having this experience through the flesh and the carnal is to ascend. And here's some tools on how to do that. And all of them say you got to wrestle with your flesh first, and then you reach these new heights. So that's the hardest fight. And you see that through reflecting through our communities as a whole, you know. But that's the inspiration is knowing, like, that we at least have a toolbox. Like we're conscious of it. Some people don't even know where a toolbox is at. I've never even seen a tool. Don't even know what the tool is. Or a fish hook. They don't even got a fish hook. They don't even begin to know what the fisherman is. So, you know what I mean? So we have a comprehension, a supreme discernment. Uh, Brother Hassan, was that Brian? I think one of y'all was about to say something. Any other
No, that
thoughts?
wasn't me. That wasn't me. That must have been Brian.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a thought on this. I think looking at this, I was reading both the paragraphs like over and over again, and I think to create, coming from a place of peace first, as everyone was saying, like going within. So a lot of ancient seers would, use a lot of their physical, right, their antennas, um, and also their internal thoughts to be able to manifest. And I guess I see it as a perspective of like how society is today, where sometimes we can be detached or desensitized from like these, I guess, physical senses. We're going through like maybe spiritual warfare and things like that. Detachment can happen to where, you can't be at peace with yourself to be able to manifest the things that you want, right? As you say, it's like everything's very mental before you even start to manifest. And sometimes, when it comes to detachment, I'm coming from like a psychological point of view. When it comes to like detachment, sometimes we're not in tune with our bodies. So you even understand, like, am I hungry right now? How am I feeling right now? What's going on? And that I feel like that can be disruptive to this manifestation process. And so that's kind of what I was thinking about when I thought about this is you really do have to be at peace with yourself to even be in tune with yourself to even get to that point, right? With everything going on and how, quickly everything is moving in life and then in society, it's kind of sometimes a little hard to do that, but that's why we talk about meditation. We talk about sitting down and closing your eyes and seeing without being able to see, right? And that's where you can actually kind of quiet the mind down with everything racing outside of us to be able to manifest externally. That's kind of what I guess the perspective I was looking at this. Pretty on point with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that in itself is fascinating. And when you link up with other people that can see, you can do great things. Um, so I want to transition back to what we were talking about earlier, as far as the ambassador work, things like that, different members in different territories outside of California, Kalika territory, um, expanding our octopus and tentacles in a unique way for the purpose of building. Um, so yeah, that's the start. Feel like we got some good ideas on the board from earlier. Um, any other thoughts from like I guess Benjamin Bay or Cal or Francis Bay when we were talking about earlier?
The designs that you're talking about?
Yeah, but I guess concepts. I know to the beach and like maybe like somewhere, I think it's like a coffee shop or something like that.
Yeah, just like the to place the books, like a little tote bag or like a reading setup, whether it's like with a computer, doing research with the book, out at the beach at a picnic or like just held up in the forest or with some plants in the back. That could be AI too, but I think if we go out and shoot it, then we can shoot some pictures in the garb as well too, to where we just get good lifestyle photos within the shirts and then styled up as well too. So that way we could even just just make it more interesting to follow and for people to watch. And then just once we make that contact point, it just like I said, yeah, something easier for them to follow, digest, and then to look around and to stay around longer. And if they want to, aid and get more involved, then it creates that opportunity. But creating a more creative space, and then content that is more high quality as well too.
I like that.
Are you talking about like in regards to like the fundraising and like the shirts and stuff?
Yeah, marketing and fundraising. Yeah.
Yeah, for like the book, and then also just like lifestyle photos. Like we were talking the other day, like even if it's even if we have like a meeting or when we get together physically again, we do like some activity or it's like gardening, but it's like a group of us, and then it's we get that content, and then we kind of build that content around what type of people we want to be around and what type of activities that we do as well too, but at the same time we're gaining new skills as a group, and it may be just or just like, hey, we're going to check out this space, and there's somebody that does a different type of skill, but the dude is like talking to us all about, hey, this is the ins and outs of this skill. Like if you was thinking about doing it this way, you could do it this way, but we kind of just like learning the stuff we may need to learn for the land or different pieces and stuff like that. Yeah, and getting content of us working together as community or activities as well too.
Mm-hmm. What? I had an idea of what.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. I was thinking in a different direction, but yeah, that's a good idea.
It's lined by that song.
Hey, so what y'all discussing? Is this about the land or is this something else y'all discussing about like the content and things of that nature? For the land?
Yeah, all of the above. Different marketing strategies to let people know we exist, what we about. We got
Mm.
some bullet point products though.
Like fundraising for
Yeah,
the.
fundraising for the land. Um, People might want to get involved and assist, and we're using our marketing for the book and the shirt, the new book I wrote and the shirt as a like a spearhead marketing campaign as an introductory, like what we about, what the book's about, where the proceeds for the shirt will be going. Khalifa Society as an organization, what we're about in general, letting them know contact information. They want to further, that type of space. Um, but as far as the land, yeah, that's why I say it's kind of all inclusive because they'll know about the land if they're interested from what we're talking about in our commercial our pilots and stuff like that. Or our concept commercials. We're trying to reach
That's a
them.
that's a really that's a really good idea, Grand Sheik. That's a really good idea. I think that's gonna work really well.
Mm-hmm. Help people support so we can raise funds to be able to, you
Yeah.
know, get a little piece. But you're saying about Toya?
Oh yeah, Toya L. She was on here last week. She is a journeyman in carpentry. I don't know if y'all know. Well, I know you Hassan, you know what a journeyman is, but pretty much when you get into the construction industry, you got different trades, and whatever trade you get into, whether carpentry, sheet metal, electrical, plumbing, whatever the case may be, you start off as an initiate, which is called an apprentice. Over the years, you get more competent in your skills in that trade, and then you graduate from being an apprentice to a journeyman. So Toya L is a journeyman in carpentry, which is foundation, building,
Oh,
stuff like that.
okay. Question. What industry is she in, Grand Sheik? Is she in the shipyard industry as a journeyman carpenter, or she's like more like construction of like hotels and high rises and things?
I believe it's more on that, the construction of like that, buildings of hotels and
Okay,
houses.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she actually is a carpenter because in my field, in like the shipyard industry, a carpenter builds staging and
Mm,
different things for the workers to scunny up wherever they have to go, things of
Mm,
that nature. They're not necessarily constructing buildings and stuff. They use more of like this this plastic that you have to heat up with the heat gun and it like stretches and gets real tight or whatever. They
Okay.
use that and they build like staging and stuff. That's why I wanted to ask. So yeah, that's good because she knows how to build already. She can
Yeah,
frame and things of that nature. That's good.
yeah, yeah, Islam. So she had a project that she talked about last week if we wanted to go help and assist on some land that she has. So not only carpentry, she has comprehension on how to
Electrical.
run electrical and plumbing.
Mhm.
So she was gonna show us how to basically get competent in that area. Um, so I think that'll be a good,
Like field trip.
yeah, field trip to get some marketing and photo ops. Um, as far as like, Moors from Khalifa Society actually doing work, actually in real
Like
time.
building.
They're actually building. That'll go a long way with um our marketing, our campaign, as far as like, what we about, what we stand for, this is all Moors. And we get competent for when we, build on our land and things of that nature. It's just another skill. You know how to do plumbing, you know how to do electrical. Now you can go into business, little side businesses on your own. There's just so much that comes with that. So, but but yeah, the reason I brought up Toya L was we can get footage basically on that day
And build skill.
and build skills. Yeah, you can turn that into like a little shoot too. Um, but yeah, it's not.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a field trip over to what is it? The Cal Earth Institute. I think it's over in Hesperia too. Would be a good way to go. After we learn to maybe build with her, we can kind of learn about the Cobb homes and their open house. Take a field trip over there, so we're doing different things. And we can wear the Moors Unite Humanity t-shirt.
Right. Yeah, if you can all wear that T-shirt. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Or I'll wear the t-shirt, Faz and turbaned up, and then shoot from there at like these different locations. These would be like different days that we go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll manifest that.
I'll be out of commission for a little bit.
Oh yeah. Depending on when we do it, but yes, okay. So we got some traction. Any other thoughts? Any chat on anything? How's everything been going, Hassan?
Well, Grand Street, besides this bipolar weather in New England, I've been doing pretty well, man. Just working. I went to work today. Just out here doing what I do, man, in the field, learning a lot of different interesting things on the submarine as a machinist. So yeah, just so you know, staying peaceful is real quiet out here. So I read, I go to work, got my dog with me. So, just staying out the way, man, being peaceful, man, just living life, man. Everything's love out here.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting occupation. Dealing with them submarines, man. That's real unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Brian, how you doing, man? How's everything been, Brian? How you feeling, man? Maybe you think he's at work, maybe. Brother Vernon, how you been, man? How's everything going?
All is well.
Oh, well, Islam. Islam.
Are you still recording?
Am I?